You know, you talk about immigrants coming to the West and being criminals, but you never sent anyone but criminals to the global South. All your Western Enlightenment colonizers, all your praise the Lord and pass the ammunition missionaries, all your God bless America soldiers, all your degenerate businessmen, your so-called best and brightest that you sent over to our countries, who came to our countries to civilize us and Christianize us, to save our women from oppression and misogyny and our backward ways and our backwards cultures. You only sent over rapists and torturers and murderers. That's who you sent over to civilize us. Why, I don't know how you can even have the gall to pretend that you ever cared about women's rights, when all that you ever showed us in terms of women's rights is that you think you have a right to our women. You don't know what you are. You don't know what kind of a society you live in. You live in a world of lies. Forget about trying to correct your misconceptions about Islam. You have nothing but misconceptions about your own so-called civilization. It's not a civilization, it's a hallucination. And it's absolutely comical, the extent of your lack of self-awareness about your own culture, about your own society. Your whole society, your whole so-called civilization is violently extremist, more than anyone else has ever been. You love to threaten your enemies with bombing them back to the Stone Age without it ever registering in your mind that this is a Stone Age mentality. The only difference between you and a caveman is that you have gadgets, but you're the land of the free, right?
All right, welcome back again. Thank you for those who are subscribing. Thank you for those who are watching my videos to the end. Thank you for those who are sending me super thanks. I really appreciate. Thank you for those who are sharing my videos. I appreciate so much. God bless you wherever you are and in everything that you are doing. You are my greatest people. Now, let's dive into this. When you listen to Shahid BOLSEN has a very message that makes a lot of sense here right now, because I've been listening to this guy and everything he speaks, he makes a lot of sense. I've never come across a video of Shahid BOLSEN where he is speaking something that does not make sense. For example, we've had a news that has been going around where the president of America is imposing high cost on the visas. For him to issue visas on the people who are visiting America, they must be able to pay at least $15,000, which is a very big money. Yeah, and the reason as to why he said that, it is because he want only people who are he said who are at a good and they can be able to contribute to the growth of America to visit America. So the reason is putting more money on visa, it is because he only wants people who are capable to be able to attain visa to go to the United States of America. And the reason that he is coming with, he's saying that he is even doing the deportation of immigrants because he does not want people from other country to go to his country and start doing the acts of criminal and all that in his country. Okay, so in short, he's trying to say the black people and other people from the Middle East and other people from Africa who are visiting the United States of America are criminals. He is calling us criminals in other words. Okay. And now Shahid BOLSEN is asking a very, very important question right here. Just as you've listened to him, he's asking, yeah, when you're calling us criminals or people who are coming to your country to maybe betray or to do the acts of criminals, you're forgetting that the people that are coming to Africa, your people which you're sending to Africa to come and civilize us, to come and teach us, to come and give us knowledge, because you keep on saying that we are uncivilized, we are illiterate, and that is why we are not competing with the rest of the world. That is what they say all the times. The people they are sending to Africa and to these countries to come and help us and to come and I don't know, teach us and civilize us and all that. These people are the real criminals. The people they are sending in Africa in the name of military personnel to come and I don't know, protect us from terrorism and all that, these people are the same people who end up performing the acts of criminalization in Africa. Yeah, some of them even get to an extent of even doing some very bad things to our people, unaliving our people, executing them. They perform bad things. Some of them are even misusing our girl, our female children's and all that. Yeah. And we've seen these kind of things happening. They are the ones who are being used to steal what belongs to a black person, what belongs to an African. They're the ones who are being used to exploit Africa, to oppress black people. Even when you go to the United States of America, you'll find out that the people who are oppressing the black people most of the times are the police officers, yeah, especially the white police officers. The other time we were talking about the case of Rodney Hinton and his child, Rodney Hinton Jr., where a police officer just shot the child. He was just shot the child down without even the child committing any mistake. Yeah, that's an act of criminal. Yeah, so when they are talking about we visiting their countries, like we are criminals, when we visit their countries, they don't want criminals, people to go to their country, or people who are not competent, people who are not knowledgeable, people who are not civilized, because that is what they call us. They also need to know in our countries, the people they are sending to our countries to come and do the human, human resource or something, like the things they are sending, the people they are sending to come to our countries to come and help us, because that is what they say. They are sending them to come and help us. The same people are the criminals that we are talking about, because when they come to our countries, they execute every bad thing. They do every bad thing. If it is stealing, they're the ones who are stealing. If these Western countries want to steal from Africa, they are using the same military they send to Africa in the name of coming and protect us from terrorism and all that. They're the same people who are funding terrorism in Africa, and then they are calling black people, or they are calling people of the low background who are visiting the United States of America criminals. Where is all these things coming from? In Africa, a long time ago, the things to do with criminals and all that and terrorism was never seen. It was never here in Africa. It never happened in Africa until the coming of a white man to Africa. We knew about war when a white man came to Africa. We knew about using guns and killing a brother when a white man came to Africa. Otherwise, black people were taught about peace. Black people were taught by their ancestors about to live well, about living better, about loving your brother. And that is why you realize many black people, they talk about loving each other. They talk about loving a brother. Listen to Louis Farrakhan. You'll see how he is explaining his ideologies, how he's bringing out his ideologies and all that. He talks about loving a brother. He talks about the issues and the things of God, what God wants from us, because black people were taught peace. They were taught love. They were taught integrity, humility. They were taught to live in harmony. They were taught about unity. Yeah. But when these people came to Africa, they destroyed everything and they made black people look like them. Yeah. Because the system in America and how American people look like, how even the children's look like in America, it is really going to surprise you. You find out that when the children are growing up, they are growing up in a certain way that you might not be able to understand. They have been placed in a certain way where the children are growing up, and at a younger age, they have already begin doing things that they're not supposed to be doing. They've already started behaving the way they're not supposed to be behaving. When you compare a white child and a black child, an African child, and a child who's living in the United States of America, there are very big difference between these two children, because one of them is doing the acts he or she is not supposed to be doing at her age. But when you come to Africa, you realize children in Africa, they're living in accordance to how they're supposed to live. The parents in Africa, they are teaching their children to live better. But in America or in Europe, the system in Western countries, the system that has been placed there, it is making these children, they are growing up, and at a certain age, they already know a lot of things. That is why children understand many things, like they can be able to answer their parents the way they want. They can be able to talk back to their parents the way they want. When it comes to sexual immorality and all that. They're doing things in a bad way at a younger age, and it is normal. Yeah, everybody takes it as a normal thing. Nobody cares about it. They say it is normal. Yeah, so children talk about the issues to do with the relationships at a younger age. They're beginning dating and walking around with boys and girls doing all sorts of bad things when they're still very young, okay, at a younger age. And you realize that it is what it is made. Take a look at this video.
Because Western so-called civilization is actually nothing but one big, gigantic grooming gang. The whole culture, the whole system, the systemic grooming and sexualization of young women in that culture is a fixture of the culture. It's a structural feature of Western culture. It's evolved over centuries. It's deeply intertwined in their whole economic and social system. Starting from their deeply misogynistic past until today, Western culture has very long normalized the hypersexualization of young women and treating them as less than human beings with inherent dignity. It treats them as objects for consumption. You know, studies show that by the age of 8, girls in the West are already internalizing societal messages about their appearance, about how their appearance is their primary source of value in that society. According to a 2021 report by the American Psychological Association, the sexualization of girls in the media, from music videos to advertising, has profound negative psychological effects on those girls, leading to depression, anxiety, low self-esteem, on and on and on. Now, would that be the case if the messaging in your media was that they were receiving was a positive message? No, this culture of grooming is not accidental. It's perpetuated through systemic forces that prioritize profit over morality. From industries like fashion to industries like pornography that actively target younger demographics, normalizing imagery that blurs the line between childhood and adulthood. This is normal for you. For instance, the rise of platforms like OnlyFans, which saw a 70% increase in user signups during the COVID-19 pandemic. It reflects how economic desperation and culturalization push young women, some barely out of high school, into commodifying their own bodies just for survival. In other words, just like a pimp, you engineer the vulnerable into capitulating with their own exploitation. Culturally, you engineer that. You create a society, you create an economic system that punishes everyone, and then you offer a reward to young women if they capitulate with self-degradation. Because you've already groomed them from childhood to accept that their bodies and their beauty and their sexual attractiveness and their sexual utility to men are their greatest assets in the commercial market. This is what you teach them. So then you close off all other financial opportunities, economic opportunities, and then you open the avenues for sexual exploitation, and they'll go along with it. So how is that not grooming on a mass scale, writ large?
Right. Welcome back again. So when these children and when these people are behaving like this, they don't feel like it is something bad. They don't find it difficult. They don't find it weird because the system has made it look normal. It is a way of life in Europe countries. It is a way of life in white countries. Yeah. And you find out that they grow up knowing these things at a very early age, and they grew up in that manner to an extent. When they get old, they are used to those kind of things. So a bad manner or a bad character or a bad behavior becomes part of this particular person, becomes a way of life of this particular person, and nothing can be able to change it. Yeah, because they are taught to live that way. They are taught that is the way of life. They are taught that is how they're supposed to live and all that. And you realize that when these things are happening, again, the Western world, or rather the Western system, has also created it has created another system that makes sure, or that informs them what you're doing is right. Okay, they grow up knowing we are the right people. They grow up knowing we are the true people of this world. They grow up knowing that black community are people you're not supposed to respect, and that is why you'll find out even their children who are racist, and you wonder, you begin wondering, how comes this child is a racist? How did this child become a racist? How did this child is behaving this way towards a black person or something like that? Yeah, they are made they are created, they are molded to grow up becoming people who think that the world belongs to them, who think that whenever they say something, they are the only people who are correct and nobody else can correct them. Okay? They know we are the pioneers of this world. We are the builders of this world. We are the engineers of this world. Okay, when it comes to inventions, we are the people who are inventing everything that is in this world. So they grow a certain pride that makes them feel like everything we do is what is right. Whatever any other community is doing isn't right. They must follow us, for them to be right, because we are the people who are right. That is how they are taught, and that is what the system has placed for them. That is what the system is teaching them. Take a look at this video.
So-called white people in America know a version of history. They know a story. They know a narrative that has been carefully crafted to shape how they see themselves, how they see their ancestors, how they see their nations and their place in the world, and how they see everyone else. And this ignorance, this deliberate miseducation that they have imposed upon their own people, allows the same crimes to continue. What most white people in America and Europe believe about their history is not history at all. It's mythology, designed to produce a specific kind of person. A person who does not feel guilty, a person who does not feel accountable, a person who does not feel responsible for ever changing anything because they don't think they're doing anything wrong. They're taught that their ancestors were pioneers, their ancestors were explorers and builders of civilization, that they've brought progress and democracy and enlightenment to the world. They hear about the Renaissance, they hear about the Industrial Revolution, they hear about the Age of Discovery, and so forth and so on. And not about enslavement, not about genocide, not about the theft, not about the destruction that their people are responsible for. They're not taught that their prosperity was built on unimaginable suffering. They're not taught that their systems of government, their financial empires, their very sense of national identity are all rooted in exploitation. They don't know about the crimes. They don't know the real legacy of their people. And so they don't change. They don't have to change because they don't even realize what they need to correct. You know, when we look at colonialism, for example, the history that's taught in Western schools is usually an abstraction. Colonization is framed as something that it just sort of happened a long time ago, you know, something that was maybe unfortunate, but it was inevitable, and ultimately it represented progress, and there were many beneficial things to come from it. Never mind the millions of Africans who died in the Congo Free State under King Leopold. Most white Americans have never heard of them. Never mind the Bengal famine of 1943, when millions of Indians starved to death due to British policies. They don't even know about it. The fact that the American police forces evolved from slave patrols, they don't know about that either. And they're not any more informed about the ongoing crimes, like the pillage of African resources today, the economic neocolonialism that keeps entire regions of the world impoverished, the exploitation of labor in the global south. These aren't relics of history. That's the present day reality of what your people are doing. But the story that the white people are told does not include those realities, or else it packages those realities deceitfully and dishonestly. They package them dishonestly and deceitfully in the past just like they do now. The irony is that when they're confronted with the truth, many of these people will react defensively. You know, I didn't do that. That was in the past. Why should I feel guilty? But this reaction in and of itself reveals how little they're really understanding. It's not about guilt. It's about responsibility. You know, if a person inherits a stolen house, they may not have stolen it themselves, but they still live in it. And if they refuse to acknowledge where that house came from or how it came into their possession, if they insist that that house is rightfully theirs because the crime happened a long time ago, well, then they're complicit because the theft is ongoing. The crime never really stopped. So when people don't know their history, they cannot recognize when history is repeating itself and when history is actually just a continuum into the present. This is why so-called white people in America can watch their government arm and support genocide in Gaza, bomb Syria, Iraq, Yemen, and so on, and actually believe when they say it's for the purpose of security. They don't see the colonial mindset at work. That's why they can see corporations, for example, Western corporations, strip mine Africa for resources and not connect that to the centuries of plunder that came before, which just means that we're not even talking about past crimes. We're talking about ongoing crimes from the past until today. Like I said, it's a continuum. If there's ever going to be any real change, if there's ever going to be any hope for justice, then so-called white people have to actually learn your history. Not the history that makes you feel proud and makes you feel good, that makes you feel comfortable, but real history, the history that makes you uncomfortable, the history that you've denied all this time. And only when white people know their real history, really know it, then maybe they can begin to take the first steps towards repairing the damage that that history caused. The damage that it caused to millions upon millions of people all around the world, including themselves.
And that is why we say it will become very difficult for America or for Europe countries to keep on or to continue ruling this world, because right now the world is changing and many people are beginning to understand what they've not known for many years. Okay, even some white people themselves, they're beginning to know the truth. They're coming out with the truth. They want to stand on the side of the truth, and they know the side of the truth is the side of the black people. So they're beginning now to attach themselves to the black people, because they know if we need the truth, if we want the truth, we must attach ourselves to the black people, because black people are the one who are performing the right things in this world. It doesn't matter how what people say or what people speak about us, but the black people are the ones who are doing right. Though they are trying so much through the system to make sure that this one will not be known to the rest of the people in the world, but it is a change has come, and when a time for a change has come, is finally here, nobody can be able to stop a change which its time has already arrived. Okay, so it's going to be difficult. A country like America, these things are happening mostly in America, and a country like America is likely to fall. Why is it likely to fall? Because of things like this. When generation is growing up to become a very bad generation, but the system is making them feel like they're the better people. At the end of the day, they want to make the black community look like the bad people. So they're blindfolding their own children, thinking that they are blindfolding a black community or black generation. Okay, because at the end of the day, when the truth will finally hit their own children will have gone far to a point of no return. Okay, so it is better when their children understand it right now and change, because it becomes worse to them. Okay, they love really trying to put on other people their own mistakes, try to put on other people their own problems, their own the shortcomings and all that. But at the end of the day, when a truth comes, all these will be revealed, all these will come to light. Okay, so the truth is out. Nobody will close the truth, and nobody will stop the truth from actually prevailing. So black people are beginning to have already understood what is happening, and they are no longer fighting them. They are now trying to make themselves great. They are now trying to make themselves known to the whole world that they are the right people of this world. Even the white people themselves, they are beginning to understand that black people are the right people of this world, because these things that are happening in these white countries are things that have been going on for all this time. And you know, when a child, for example, is a bad child, where the parent tells him, don't do this, and they keep on doing it all the times, when a time comes that this child becomes out of control, and now the parent can no longer take care of him, the parent can no longer manage him, the parent can no longer speak about him or her anymore, and then he lets the world deal with him. Now America is like that child who never listened to their parent, who did things the way they wanted to do, and now the world is beginning to teach them how to live like a human being, because they are too late. You know, when the world now has begun dealing with you, it deals with you perpetually and perpendicularly to a point that you just have to respond and listen to it. America isn't strong. Africa is strong. America has never been strong. Africa has always been strong, but it has made itself strong by teaching its people that they are the great, and by making black people know and understand that they are less great. Tell me what you think on the comment section. I'll do my best to make sure I read the comments and give a response where possible. I am Atamba Hating. This is African Streamline. Thank you for coming. Thank you for tuning in. Thank you for always being here. Okay, if it's the first time to be here, don't forget to subscribe. For the returning subscribers, I really appreciate you so much. I tell you every day, Africa is home, and anything that concerns Africa concerns me and you as a black people. God bless.